Hello everyone, welcome back to the Harry blog once again. So today we are going to build our own Python process manager, just like a task manager on Windows or activity monitor on a Mac. So with this tool, you can basically you can basically list all the running processes, see the CPU and RAM usage, kill any processes, monitor the system performance in real time. So let's jump into that. So before moving into that, so I'll create a file. Let's say we can say task manager dot and for the getting the task manager, we have to install a library that is psutil. So I'll have already installed that, but I'll run it like how to install it. So I'll say install and I'll say psutil. So it will say it's the system, the requirement already satisfied. So I'll clear this. And what we are going to do, we are going to now import all the necessary things. The first thing we'll import that is psutil. So the psutil is basically for the getting the system in process system and process information. And the second part we are going to import that is import.os, that is os to clear the screen basically, right? And then the third is time to display the system delay. So we'll say import time, right? So these three module we need: the psutil, operating system, and then might on time, right? Next thing what we're going to do, we're going to write a function that is basically clear the terminal screen depending on the operating system, right? So we'll say def clear underscore screen, right? And then we'll write here that is so we can say os dot system, and we'll say cls if if os dot name equals to empty, and we can say else here, right? So this will basically clear the screen, clear the terminal screen depending on the operating system. Next thing what we're going to do, we are going to write a function that is basically that will list the process that will print the table of active process along with their PID, that is process ID, and name, and CPU usage and memory usage. So what we're going to do, we are going to write another function that will say f. We can say we have to write a function name, so you can say list process processes processes. Yeah, you can say list processes, and then what we're going to do, we're going to print, say print x less n. We'll say running processes, and yeah. Next thing we are going to print, basically we will print the table header that include the column name, PID, name, CPU, and RAM, right? So we'll say print, and what we're going to do, we're going to write like this, and we'll say 10. So let me write this first, and then I'll explain what I'm doing here. So I need four of them, right? So this will be 1, 2, 3, and 4, and dot 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 format, right? So dot format, and then I'm going to say this will be a PID, and this will be a name, and then this will be a C percentile, and then this will be a RAM into percentile, right? And this is what I'm going to explain. So this means this is the left align text in a column of width 10 character. right? So PID we can assume as a 10 character. This could we can type 25, and the rest we can say, because the CPU and RAM, it comes under the 10, basically the width of the 10 character, right? Next thing what we're going to do, we are going to say print. We are going to print this, and we'll say multiply by 60, right? So this will print the 60 times so that it will be clear and we'll understand what we are doing here. Next thing what we're going to loop through every running process. So we'll iterate and return each process along with the along with only the required attribute, that is PID, name, CPU usage, and memory. That's four things we are going to need this. So we'll run a loop. So we'll say for in US in PS util and dot process dot ITR, and we'll write this PID. We are going to say that this will be a name, and we can say this will be CPU underscore PRC20%, and the final will we need, that will be memory underscore percent, right? So these four we need, and what we're going to do, we are going to say try, and then we'll print, and just copy this. This will be good. I need this, so right, this is what I need, and then dot format, and after format I'm going to delete these things because I don't need this. So what I need, so the first thing what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the process ID. So for getting the process ID, we'll say proc dot info, and then I will say the ID, then I'll add comma, and the next part, and basically next part we are going to get the name, right? And we'll also basically trim the if the name, basically name not name, we can say we can trim the string so that it can fit the fifth character, that is basically width of the fifth 25, right? So we'll only accept till 24, 23, or 24, 23 we can say, right? So we'll say info, and we are going to say this is name, and we're going to trim this, so we'll say 23, right? And if proc dot info, we can say that is name, else we'll say unknown, right? And we'll add the comma. And next part is we are going to get the current CPU usage of the process. So we'll say proc dot info, and we can say CPU underscore percent, right? And the next part, we are going to get the RAM usage, and so we'll say proc, and basically what we can do here, we can basically round up till 2 digits. So we'll say round, and proc dot info, and this will be memory underscore percent, and say 2 digit, right? And after the try, we are going to say if the process no longer exists, no such process, and cannot be access denied, or then we are going to ignore it using the pass. So we'll say accept, right? And we'll say accept, and we'll say ps util, not like this. So we'll say ps util dot no such process, or we can say ps util dot access denied, then we'll say pass, right? So till now, let me explain. So till now what we have done here, and this is very important to you guys to understand. So first we have imported all the necessary libraries. Then we have added the clear screen, so that if the function basically this function basically clear the terminal screen depending on the operating system. And then the list of the process, this function is very important. So first we get the these four parameters we are going to print. First is the PID, that is a process ID, name, and how much CPU it uses, and then RAM, right? And then next part, what we are doing, we are iterating through to get the PID, name, CPU percent, and memory percent. And then we are printing this, right? And for the name, we are trimming till 23 digit, so width of 23 character, so that we cannot exceed the limit that we have set till 25, right? And you can set it whatever, but I have set it till 25, and then I'm restricting the name should be till 23 character. Now next thing what we're going to do, we are going to ask the user for a PID, that is a process ID. And when they try to terminate the process, we and then try to terminate the process, and we will also handle error like invalid PID or permission issue. So we'll say def kill underscore processes, right? And we'll say try, and we'll say that is PID equals to int input. Then we are going to say enter and add backslash n, so that it will print in a new line, enter PID 2, right? And then we'll say process equals to psutil dot we'll say process, and then we'll say PID, right? And then we'll say process dot terminate, say process dot terminate, right? And we'll say printf, I mean print, and then we are going to say like this. So we'll say, and then we'll say processes. I'm doing nothing, I'm just printing a message. So we'll say PID, and it's say terminated successfully, right? So this a process PID terminated successfully. Now next thing what we're going to do, we're going to write except we can say ps util dot no such processes. Then we will write print, we'll print a message. Just copy this, so easier us to edit it. And we'll say invalid, this we can remove it, and don't need this. So we'll say invalid PID process does not exist, right? And the next part you're going to say except, and we'll say ps util dot access denied, and then we'll say print, that is a PID process does not exist. And then we are going to say access denied, say access denied, right? And we can say try running the script as admin, right? Because admin has all the authorities. And the next part we are going to do, we are going to say except, you can say value error, that will print, basically we'll say print, we'll print this, and then we'll say here please enter a valid PID, Please enter valid PID, right? ID. So this is for the killing all the processes and asking the user to enter a valid PID. Now next thing what we're going to do, we are going to create a live loop that basically update the CPU and RAM usage every second, and by pressing the Control C we will exit and return to the main menu. So we'll say def and what function we can put a function name, we can say we are going to get the system usage, so we can say system underscore usage, right? And then we'll write like this, and then we'll say print of \n. We are just printing a message here, so we'll say system resource monitor, system resource monitor, and in the next message will be a print, and in the next one we are going to say press ctrl plus C, that is control plus C to go back, and then we'll say backslash, right? So and now and the next what we're going to do, we are going to say try. This will be your try, and we'll say while true. What we're going to do, we are going to fetch the current CPU usage percentage, and we are going to put the interval that will be 1 second, right? And we are going to basically use the psutil measure that will basically measure the CPU usage over every second, and it also pause the loop for 1 second, giving a real-time effect. So we'll say CPU psutil, this will be a CPU equal to psutil dot CPU percent, and interval equals to 1, right? Next thing what we're going to do, we are going to get the RAM usage. So say RAM equals to, we'll say psutil dot RAM. No, this will be a virtual memory, and dot say percent, right? And then we are going to print this. So we'll say print, and say bracket F, yeah, and then we'll say CPU usage. Going to write here that CPU, this will be in a percentile, and then we can say RAM usage, this will be also in a percentile, right? That's it. And next thing what we're going to do, we are going to say except, why basically it catches the error so the program doesn't crash. So we'll say keyboard interrupt, and then we'll say we'll print a message basically, and we'll say backslash, and then we'll say the returning to the menu, right? Now we are going to write the main process where we'll run a switch case, or we basically will ask a user to enter a choice, and then we are going to ask some functions to, if a user enter this choice, to do this, otherwise do this, otherwise do this, otherwise do this, right? So we'll set def main, and we'll say while true, so we will say clear screen, right? And next what we're going to do, we're going to print a message. So I'll just copy this, and so that we can say in the first we are going to get the 4 options, right? So we'll say first, second, just copy this, control C, and we'll say control D. Yeah. So in the first one we are going to we can say Python process manager, right? And the next part we are going to write here, we are going to write options. So we'll say first, we'll say list running processes, and the second part will be we can say kill and no, we can say kill or processes, yeah. And the third will be monitor CPU and RAM usage. So this will be for monitor CPU and RAM usage. Now the fourth we can say this will be L1. Fourth dot we can say exit. So whenever the user will enter the fourth option, it will say enter. So now you're going to get the user option, then we'll say choice equals to input, and then we'll say backslash n, and we'll say enter your choice, and then say if choice equals to 1, right? Then we'll say if choice, let me just copy this so that, so this will be the choice equals to, and I'll just copy this because we need it's 1 2 3 4. This will be set third, this will be fourth, and then it will be else equals to, and then will be final else, right? So in the first section we are going to say if user enter the first choice, we'll say clear screen, and this is we are going to call in every choice. So I'll just copy this in every choice. So this is what we have, and here also, and here also. So here the option will be 2, and option will be 3, and then option will be 4, right? And the next part in the first we are going to, as it's a list the running process, so we'll say list processes, and then we'll run this, let this function, and we'll say we'll ask another input the user here, and that will say backslash, we'll say press enter to return to menu, right? Yeah. And this I'll copy this because we need this here also, and in this, yeah, the first part is done, and the second part is where we are going to ask kill a process. So we'll say kill processes, and we'll call this function, right? And then this one, in the third one we are going to say clear screen, and then we'll say, because the third one is going to give us a monitor CPU and RAM usage, so we'll say system usage, because we have written a function here that give us the system usage, and this one is the killer process, and the first one is list the process. So we have declared 3 function. I'll explain everything that. So first let me write this, and the fourth part will be no, we don't need this, so we'll say print, and we'll say sitting, and we can say soon, right? And the final part will be the else part, right? And we'll say print, and then we'll say invalid choice, so try again, and then we'll say time dot sleep, and say 1. Here one thing we forgot to add, because we are exiting the program, so we'll say that basically breaks the break the entire loop. Now we are going to write the main here, so we'll say if name equals to, this will be score main, right? And then we'll say main, and this will be a equal to. So let me just recall everything what we have done here. So basically we are going to display a three of four thing. So first option will ask the user to list all the process, list all the running process. When user will enter one, we are going to clear the screen and will ask list the processes. So we have defined a clear screen function that basically clear the screen every time when a user enter a new process. And the list process is basically what it does. It gives us the PID, name, CPU, RAM, and we are just printing all this right here. Then coming to the next choice, that is the kill process, that is second. When user will enter two, it will clear the screen and it will call the kill process. So kill process is basically it's a PID, enter PID to kill, and it's a process ID to kill that particular program. And if we found anything invalid, then we are saying invalid process ID. You don't have any access to close this, and then please enter a valid PID, right? And then final one is the CPU and RAM usage. We are going to display that basically monitor and CPU, monitor, CPU and RAM usage. So this is the system usage, right? We are doing we are fetching the data and then we'll printing this, right? That's it. And if user enter 4, then it's a exiting and exiting and see you soon, and then we'll break the loop. Apart from that, if user enter anything else, then it will say invalid choice, uh, invalid choice, and then try again. So we'll run this. So see, we got the list running processes. Killer process is a monitor, CPU and RAM usage. Now we are going to enter. So we are going to enter the first one. So it's a list processes. So here we have written the list processes that we have made a typo here. This will be a info, and this will also be a info, right? And we'll close this, we'll clear this, and we'll run this again, and we'll enter the one. It again say the process. Okay, this one we have written also wrong here, and a lot of typo here. We'll run this again, don't worry, and we'll enter one. So we got all the processes with the PID, name, and then and see the name is here. Basically, it is a power, but it's a POWE, right? Because we have only we have restricted till 23 characters, and this is the CPU percent and memory percent, right? This is what we got. Now what we're going to do, we are going to enter the enter to we now we are back. So we'll enter 3 to get the monitor and CPU. Now we are getting the monitor and CPU, right? And it will run for the same. If you enter 2, it will ask for a killer process, and same if you enter 4, then you will basically exit the program. And that's how you build your own Python process manager. So this is very useful when you want to monitor such a particular process, such a particular thing that basically running on your system. Suppose you have a program and you wanted to monitor that how much RAM, CPU and how much RAM it takes whenever the program is running. That's how you monitor your program and or software, right? This is very important thing you guys to know. So what we have done here, we have basically uses the psutil library, and we are basically fetching the list of processes that is running, list of the we are seeing CPU and RAM uses. We have also done that we can kill any processes by entering here, right? And that's how you can build any task manager using the Python and its library, that is psutil, right? So if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share with your friend, so that and also write down a comment what kind of project you need further. So I'll note it down, and I'll try to solve it, and I'll try to make a video on that, and then I'll post it here, right? So until then, I'll see you, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you. Thank you.